everybody. How is your weekend going so far? I am doing a pre-live live. I'm actually going live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Warrior Evolution Facebook group, talking about a totally different topic, but I felt like I needed to warm up and get used to just talking on camera because I don't do it that often, so I felt like I needed a warm up, so I decided to jump on here. Hey everybody, hi, please say hi. Love when people stay and talk with me. So just so you know what you're even here for, so I'm talking today, so I just went on an amazing hike in upstate New York, and it was a rock scramble, which means like, well, I'll get to that in a second, but basically, does anyone, tell me if you experience this, when you work out or move your body, going on a hike, doing something outside, going for a walk, connecting and being and moving in nature, you feel amazing. Does anyone get that? Hey, Just Raven. Does anyone feel that? Like, tell me, think back to the last time that you went out and you moved your body, whether it was going for a walk in a park, or going for a hike, or, I don't know, going swimming outside, going to the beach. Julia, every time. Girl, you are so good at getting out in the world and moving your body, because you literally do it all over the United States and the world. So I know you know it. Tell me, like, everyone else, what do you notice a shift in your mood, in your mindset, in how you just feel about yourself and about life when you go for a walk or move your body, specifically in nature, specifically outdoors? Whether it's a park by your house, whether it's even like playing basketball in your front driveway, or kicking a ball or throwing, having a catch outside, going for a hike. I know you people out west love hiking. I wish I could get out west more. Hopefully planning on doing that later this year, because hiking anywhere in mountains just literally fuels my soul. So the reason I'm asking you specifically if you connect to something when you move your body outside, outdoors, in nature, is because I just finished this book called The Joy of Movement. I've been talking about it nonstop, literally all week, because I'm obsessed with it. And in one chapter of the book, the author, Kelly McGonigal, talks about specifically green exercise. Does anybody know what green exercise is? Has anyone heard it? Hey guys, I'm on Facebook on my page, and I'm on Instagram too, so you can just see me everywhere. Hi guys. Oh, that's so beautiful. Julia said, my shoulders fall back, my chest lifts, and my eyes look upward. There's an entire shift towards possibility. Everything you write sounds like poetry, first of all. That's really beautiful. I feel a similar way. I never heard of green exercise either, like that particular phrase, but all that it means is psychologists. It's the term that they have for when you do physical activity in a natural environment. They call it green exercise, just because you're exercising and you're moving your body in nature, which is green. So that's just a term that I didn't know, and I just learned through reading this book. This is a book, by the way. I don't know if it's going to look backwards to you, but isn't it so pretty? It's so pretty in pink. The Joy of Movement, Dr. Kelly McGonigal. I got a signed one. So yeah, green exercise is a term that psychologists call when you do physical activity in a natural environment. So that's all it is. But I'm curious to know what your personal experiences are when you move your body outside as opposed to doing it inside. Is there a difference? Do you feel a difference? Is it easier for you to connect and calm down and just kind of like take a deep breath when you move your body outside, as opposed to going to the gym or doing a workout at home or doing a class or something like that. Do you guys notice a difference? I'm really, really curious, just like over the course of this whole thing of my lives, because I do. I definitely do. And I'm gonna go to my notes in a hot second, but personally, when I do any sort of movement outside, it is in my, like, for me, it makes me feel like the best possible way that I could ever feel. Like, I am so full of not only joy, but connection. And like Julia said, just like anything is possible. I feel like time just slows down, and I just want to eat. Like, I just want to eat everything that I'm seeing through my eyeballs. I want to, however my senses consume the world around me, they turn on and they just want to like over-consume just everything. All of the sounds, all of the smells, all of the colors, all of the air, just the feeling of connecting in every single possible sense that I have access to, and maybe even ones that I don't even know, like, right? Because there are senses that maybe we don't even know that we have. It's easier to keep going outside as opposed to indoors. I noticed that too. Like, I would not ever define myself as a runner, and that's because I don't want to define myself as being a runner. And certainly if I chose to run indoors on a treadmill, it is a completely different experience than when I naturally feel called to run outside. And usually it's not because I am trying to burn calories or anything like that, or not even because like I want to run, but it's because I want to connect with nature. I want to connect with something outside. I want to feel the sun on my skin. I want to breathe fresh air deep into my lungs. I want to just feel my body sweating and moving and pushing, and just, again, like embrace nature through every single sense. And I feel like through movement, because we're breathing deeper, because when we are moving, like our mind is more focused, we are clearing our senses and focusing in, that we're able to do that. Like, we're hypersensitive in a way, and that's personally how I feel. I never run indoors, but when I'm in a really beautiful place, like over the summer, my good friend Karen and I, she and I did a seminar a few weeks ago together at the beginning of the year. It was great. And we traveled to Quebec, had a great time in Quebec City. It was beautiful there. But then we specifically drove in a little bit more west to, oh God, now I can't remember the name. Mont Saint Anne? Was that what it was? I think it was no, it wasn't Mont Saint Anne. It was, oh shoot, I can't remember. But it was this beautiful lake. Karen, come on Facebook and Instagram so you can tell me where the heck we went, because I can't remember. It was this beautiful lake in the Quebec region. It was just like a little bit north of Montreal. And we had this gorgeous view of this beautiful lake and the mountains behind it. It's a skiing town in the Quebec region. Gosh, it's gonna come to me as soon as I turn this off. I know it. And again, I don't really feel the need to run. I don't enjoy it. It's just like not my movement of choice, let's say. But I woke up at like 6:30 the last morning we were there, and the sun had already risen, and there was this beautiful just like haze on the lake, and the mountains in the background were just stunning, and I just felt like I needed to go and just run. I just needed to go, and I needed to be outdoors, and I needed to like experience this beauty through movement. So popped in headphones, got out, started to run down the street. I knew like kind of where I was going, but not really. I was just like, I'm just gonna follow my senses. I know I'm gonna end up at the lake. So I'm just going, it's not that big. We weren't that far away, but I had to like go down a main road and then make a couple rights and lefts. And before I knew it, I did find myself at the bank of the lake, and there was this beautiful haze over the water, and it was kind of like eerie but like beautiful at the same time. I don't know, kind of like into the mist sort of feel. And so I took a bunch of pictures. It was super cool. Maybe I'll post them for you guys later. And I just wanted to run. Like, I just wanted to run around the lake, and I actually ended up taking my headphones out, whatever I was listening to, and I was like, I just need to embrace, I wish I had better words, I just want to consume everything that's around me, the sounds, the smells, the feels, the deep breathing, the challenge, everything, the beauty, the visuals. I just want to like consume it all, and moving sort of like heightens that for me. So that's the only time I feel like running. But if you just are joining, we're talking about moving your body outdoors and how that feels different from being indoors. So I want to hear if you connect to that. So I'm reading this book, The Joy of Movement, and in this one chapter, she specifically talks about, hey Sarah, she specifically talks about green exercise, which is just a term that psychologists use to call physical activity in a natural environment. So this is super interesting. Get ready for this. So if you saw a few days ago, I posted on my IGTV a talk about runner's high, or just exercise high, and what is happening inside our body when that happens. Usually people are like, oh, an endorphin rush, and that's only a part of the puzzle. So I talked about another piece of the puzzle, which was endocannabinoids, which is a hormone that we produce that gives us a feeling of calm and decreases anxiety and improves mood. And it is a similar feel to when if you were to consume cannabis. It's the same receptor sites, but we instead are making this particular compound inside of our bodies when we move, and that is part of the reason why we can have a decrease in stress and an improvement in joy and mood when we exercise. So that takes about 20 minutes to kick in. If anyone knows a runner's high, or you do get that like spark all of a sudden when you're moving your body, it takes about like 20 minutes to kick in a moderate exercise level. I'd much rather walk, run outside, but not always viable. True. It's not always viable. And I'm just a big advocate of taking advantage of it whenever and wherever you can. So the endocannabinoid system takes about 20 minutes to kick in. Get this. Within the first 5 minutes of any physical activity in nature, people report major shifts in their mood, in their outlook on life. And I'm just reading my notes. So they don't just feel better, they feel different. And I can totally attest to this. They feel different. Like somehow we feel distance from our problems. Like our problems feel smaller. Like the everyday life problems feel smaller. You feel more connected to life itself. I think it has something to do with being in nature and realizing how small we are compared to the just outrageousness and the beauty and the overwhelming size of our personal self and problems compared to the world. And something in that also shifts us in our perspective. Slows down your internal clock, so time can just feel so full. I talk about this all the time, like how I'm trying to hack time. My clients look at me like I'm crazy and really rolling their eyes at me. But I'm trying to figure out how to make time feel fuller and more weight. And when you move your body in nature, it actually slows down like your relative sense of time, leading to your perception of time just expanding, which is, I think, incredible. Like when I went hiking today upstate, I was hiking from probably like 12:30 to about 3 or so, and God, it felt like the time I was there felt like the whole afternoon. It felt like the whole day. It felt like hours and hours and hours. And meanwhile, it was only 12, I'm not good at math. 2.5-ish hours? Like 2.5 hours? What? That's like a commute for me. Like going downtown and coming back uptown. 2.5 hours. Like what? So it also allows you to gain perspective on your life. People are more likely to say that they feel connected to the world around us, and that they're in the presence of something greater than just ourselves. So all of that is so impactful. And like I said, there's studies that show within the first 5 minutes of moving your body in any nature, I'm trying to say like outdoor environment, people report these shifts in their mood and their outlook. 5 minutes, you guys. 5 minutes. So there's one study that they did in South Korea where middle-aged adults were being treated for depression, and in the study, they had some of the people walk among the trees and plants before participating in their regular weekly CBT session, cognitive behavioral therapy session, talk therapy. And at the end of only 1 month of doing this, 61% of these middle-aged adults were in remission for depression. Their depression was in remission after just walking. At the end of 1 week, at the end of 1 month, outdoors, 61% of them were in remission. 3 times the rate of patients who just did the talk therapy alone. That's a big deal. Being active outdoors can help us tap into the human capacity for mindfulness, awareness, connection, as well as transcendence of being connected to something bigger than ourselves. So there's a term that this guy, his name is E.O. Wilson, came up with. It's called biophilia, and it literally means the love of all that is living. Biophilia, the love of all that is living. So we're going to get back to that in a hot second. So the second thing I wanted to tell you is that unlike a runner's high or just an exercise high in general, which takes about 20 minutes to kick in, I already said there's a video I did. You can look it up on my IGTV section, which is always hard to find, but it is it's the next button next to my newsfeed if you go to my profile. So it's different. Moving our body in nature has a different mechanism that helps us feel better, different than the endocannabinoid endorphin system. Excuse me. So I thought this was really interesting. We have what's called a default mode network in our brains. And that basically means like our brain's at rest is this default mode network. So I'm just reading my notes. So at some point, all human brains at rest slip into a similar state, this default. The default network is like us thinking about our day, like making lists, things like that, thinking about what we're gonna do and planning and stuff like that. So the default state has also a lot of downsides. And people who suffer from depression and anxiety tend to get stuck in a mental trap because they show unusually high activity in this default mode network. And then they get stuck in this default state. So that makes it difficult to focus on anything else. And this is where like rumination comes in and just like cycling negative thinking, and it feels like we can't really control it, or we criticize ourselves, or we just rehearse reasons to like worry about things over and over and over again. So this default network in our brains where it's kind of like where your brain settles. Like when you're not focused on anything in particular, it's like, where does your brain settle to? And that's called the default mode network. So the mind can even become addicted to ruminating thoughts. And the brain's reward system can become highly connected to the structures within the default network that are associated with our memories, worrying, thinking about yourself. Like the brain, I felt like this too when I was depressed, like in the midst of my deep depression, and even in anxiety. It felt like my brain is convinced that like something good is going to happen from ruminating and constantly worrying and rehearsing and self-criticism. Like it was like something is going to come out of this, and I got to keep doing it, you know, until something changes. Like something's going to work if I keep doing this. I still recognize that pattern in myself, and I consider myself recovered from depression and anxiety, but it's still like something of a default mode that my brain does settle to. I still notice that. I shift off of it, but I still notice it. So one of the most effective ways to quiet the default state when it's hyperactive is medication, certain medications. Cool. So then the thing is, when we move our body in nature, it does something similar. This is different. Okay, so listen to this. So they took a bunch of people, told them to go on a scenic hike, and afterwards, participants reported less anxiety and negative self-focused thinking. So they scanned their brains before and after their brain scans revealed less activity in something called the subgenus cortex of their brains, which is an area that's linked to self-criticism, sadness, and rumination. So there was a decrease in that. And then individuals who suffer from depression show more activity in this part of the brain, the subgenus cortex, during rest than people who are not depressed. And a walk in nature, literally a hike, specifically silences this part of the default mode network stream of consciousness. So this is like some science that's starting to show and give understanding to why it feels so good to move in nature, why we can have a mood boost after moving our body outside. When you're absorbed in your natural surroundings, the brain shifts into something called soft fascination, which is like a state of heightened present moment awareness. Hello. Brain system, and it's interesting, this I thought was super interesting. This will be the last thing I talk about. So brain systems, we have our right and our left brains, right? And they each have different specialties. So brain systems that are linked to language and memory and thoughts and like thinking and all of that actually become less active when we move our bodies in nature. And the regions that focus on sensory information become more engaged. So the part of the brain that's linked to language and memories and rumination become quieted, and the regions that are responsible for sensory information and processing become more engaged. So if you think about, if you've ever struggled with depression and anxiety, you are constantly living in the past, sad, focused on that, like not even sad, but we know all the feels of depression, just like focusing on the past, thinking, what could I have done better? All these negative thoughts. And then anxiety is focusing on the future and worrying about that. So this shift can be huge for us who struggle with depression and anxiety and the rumination in that default mode. Because the default mode, when we're struggling with depression and anxiety, is relentlessly verbal. It's constantly talking, right? Like our inner dialogue is constantly going and going and going, however that looks for you. Generating words, phrases, memories, future worries, all the things. So if our brains are shifted and that part of the brain is quieted and the sensory processing part of the brain is heightened, is more engaged, that allows us to literally quiet the mind and take in everything that's around us, and allows us to be more present, more connected. I love how they called it soft fascination, a state of heightened present moment awareness. And I mean, what is meditation? What is calming our inflammatory reactive system, right? Like a lot of anxiety and depression is caused by some kind of inflammatory response in the body. And part of that is decreasing that stress response, which is why exercise is so phenomenal. And this, moving your body outdoors, is literally something that directly impacts that part. I just thought that was so cool because it gives like scientific validation, explanation. I like to know the reason why for everything. I'm always asking questions. Some of my friends hate it. Others can stand it a little bit more, but I'm constantly asking why. Like, why does this happen? Why do I feel this way? Why did that person do that? What would make them do that? Whatever. So when I find like a reason, like with language that can put to words what I'm feeling, it just blows my mind, because I guess one, it validates it. Two, it's just like, oh my God, this is a thing. Like, it's not just in my mind. I don't just like, I'm just not a one-off. Like, this is something that impacts all of us. And when it comes to movement and improving our mood and overcoming depression and anxiety, like, I am so passionate about it because it is so impactful. And I just want to, if everyone could have a dose of feeling that from just moving their body, I would give that to everybody, like, easily. Like, you know what I mean? I just want everyone to experience that. It's amazing. It's so cool. So I'm just going to leave you with this one last thing. So I talked about the word biophilia, which is the love of all things natural in the world. And you could also think of biophilia as the love of living, a hardwired instinct that is key to human happiness. Biophilia, the will to live on, the impulse to grow, and the determination to thrive in whatever circumstances you find yourself in. And that hit me. All right, you guys, I'm gonna thank you all for jumping on. I want to just read the comments for a bit. It also connects us to each other. The natural world is universal, so we are never alone if we're in nature. Yes. God, you guys just write so beautifully, and it feels like poetry. This one and the one that Julia wrote. It also connects us to each other. The natural world is universal, so we are never alone if we're in nature. That's so true. It feels that way. It's true. We're never alone if we're in nature. And we all know that loneliness is a huge impactor on bringing our mental health down. So I am doing, this was my live warm-up, because I just wanted to like get on camera and like get all my nerves out. But I'm doing a live tonight at 8, so in 1 hour, on in my Facebook group, The Warrior Evolution, Fight Depression with Fitness. If you're not in it, it's free. Jump in. You just have to give me your email address and then I'll accept you. So I'm doing a talk tonight there at 8 on something different. Let me just... 1 second. Don't go anywhere. It's not the right thing. I always click the wrong buttons. So tonight's talk is going to be specifically on how to get back on track if you have gotten out of the habit of moving your body, okay? This will also sort of apply to people if you want to start moving your body for your mental health, and it'll apply to both. So how to get back on track and how to begin. The second thing we're going to touch on is making small nutrition changes to improve your mood. And then the third thing is what's next for the Warrior Evolution Program. And if you don't know what the Warrior Evolution Program is, awesome. Come on in. Come into the Facebook group and you'll learn all about it. And that's it. So that will be tonight. That'll be live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's it. Thank you guys for jumping on, and I'll see you later tonight. Bye.